Welcome back, and to the new listeners, I'd like to officially welcome you to the Upfront Podcast, where it's all about people's stories and important conversations. I thought about giving you a short update on what is happening, so here it goes. The Upfront Podcast has been on a short hiatus so that I can ensure that I am providing you with the most valuable content. This podcast is proudly independent, produced and hosted by me without any backing by a network, which means that I put in a lot of time and effort into every single episode. I don't want to publish new episodes simply for the sake of putting out something, but only if it is of actual value to people. I would like to take this opportunity to speak on the true essence of this podcast and why it is so important to me. I had started this podcast because I had understood on a deeper level that every person has their own story, their own values, beliefs, feelings, and thoughts, their own source of inspiration, and different experiences. And I felt like life itself became more meaningful to me through understanding that and the fact that I'm not alone in the things that are important to me. With this podcast, I want to ultimately highlight what really matters in life, the connection between people, and specifically to do so on a larger scale and hopefully amplify the feeling of understanding and empathy for one another. Each person has their own individual story that has been formative of their life. That is why I felt like I myself, as well as other people, could benefit from hearing about these individual journeys, personal expressions, and conversations surrounding topics that you might not get to hear about as much in everyday life. We all live in kind of a bubble, each of us within their own circle of like-minded people. We usually hear about similar experiences to our own, and we feel seen through having created our own little community. The older we get, though, the smaller our circle usually becomes, and we only hear and witness other stories to a certain degree. Knowledge is power, and let's face it, being uninformed in the digital age really is a choice. Many people don't take the time to invest in learning about topics that they're not personally touched by. And I'm not saying we should be limitlessly consuming content that doesn't align with our values and beliefs, but rather that we are open enough to listen to other people. We need to start talking about inconvenient and uncomfortable topics, as well as sharing empowering stories. And these discussions can spark more conversations that need to take place on a large scale, as well as in the everyday world around you, within your own community. Together, we can effectively contribute towards a more respectful, empathetic, tolerant, and inclusive society. Together, we can take action through spreading awareness, expressing and conversing our solidarity for what we as a society have to work on and start to dismantle old social constructs, societal expectations, and belief systems that belong in the past. This is not me criticizing anyone as an individual, but rather an attempt at improving the world we live in. My ultimate goal is to create a community of people who do feel safe to share their experiences and stories, and to feel more connected, even to strangers, simply by listening to each other. The Upfront Podcast really is a tool to hear from incredibly amazing people, to provide you with thought-provoking and inspirational anecdotes, topics, and conversations that hopefully have an impact on your life in a way, and to inspire you. I hope you are enjoying this podcast, and if you do, please leave a review on whatever podcast platform you're listening on right now. I know that leaving a review can feel daunting at times, but it really does help this podcast go on. I'd like to ask you to give the Upfront Podcast a follow on social media, which is the Upfront Podcast on Instagram and on Facebook. If you have any questions, comments, or remarks, please send us a message in writing or as an audio recording either on Instagram or Facebook or via email. Also, if you have any questions or opinions to share about past episodes, please also feel free to send those in as well, and I'll be sure to include those in upcoming episodes. The Upfront Podcast will be back soon with many more interesting conversations. And if you have an inspiring, important, or inspirational topic you'd like to share and have a conversation about, feel free to reach out through the channels in the show notes or via email to theupfrontpodcast@gmail.com. I appreciate your listenership and your continuous support. It really means the world to me. So, thank you.